What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Under Review. And this week we are tackling the Lara Croft third entry in the reboot series of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, Lara Croft is back in the epic conclusion to the revamped retelling of the Lara Croft series. This, unlike the other two, is actually very dark, gritty, and really authentic. The puzzles are actually much more difficult, so they've kind of raised the difficulty levels as opposed to the previous two entries. They pose many threats, and timing has got to be impeccable. I cannot stress that enough, people. Your timing in some of these puzzles have got to be right on. You hear me probably snapping my fingers. They got to be right on. Because some of them, if you're just like a couple of seconds off, you got to start the whole thing over again. Or you could possibly die. So this comes as this is like a culmination of epic storytelling, talented voice acting, and just beautiful, lush environments. Even though they are dark in a majority of them. But they can leave you in pretty stressful situations. And impactful situations that will kind of leave you on, or kind of have you on the edge of your seat. Now, Crystal Dynamics has fully flushed out the formula for a good Tomb Raider series. And since the very first reboot, this has been the Tomb Raider we've kind of wanted for quite a while. And this final dark conclusion is an epic one that leaves us wanting to know how they plan to continue on even after Crystal Dynamics is finished with this franchise. Now, they did say that Part 3, which is this one, would be their last, which tells us that another developer could pick it up right afterwards, which is probably going to be the case. It's tended what they do with franchises that do extremely well. And we know we've gotten a ton of Tomb Raider games in the past. We can kind of bet we're going to get a ton of Tomb Raider games going on in the future. Maybe just not with Crystal Dynamics at the helm. But that doesn't mean that their influences are going to disappear. A lot of their influences, the stuff that they brought to the table with this new iteration of the franchise, is going to come along right with it. There are more dire consequences for your actions in this game than in previous iterations. And like I said before, the puzzles are much more difficult. But that also is going to put you in more dire consequences. And it's going to leave you with a few heart-dropping moments than previous games as well. And just in previous games, and not just in Tomb Raider games, let me put it that way. Because there's going to be some certain situations, and this is going to be spoiler-free, so I'm not going to give anything away. But there are going to be some times in the game that you're going to start to question yourself, and you're going to have to make decisions that are going to kind of go against your better judgment. And you're going to have to make those decisions. Or things are going to happen that are going to kind of go against your better judgment. Just be wary of that. The environment is about as realistic as you can get next to the Uncharted series. The game is dark, gloomy, wet, and the architectures of the game are very authentic and realistic to examine. They're not overly enlarged or humongous to scale, but more so resemble the actual size so that they appear more authentic than the other set pieces. Lara also has the ability to climb walls with their trusty pickaxes. So exploring the caves like you have never before been able to do. And aside from climbing, Lara can now swim underwater for an extended period of time to find hidden items and make it to areas not before accessible. So with that, it means there are new obstacles to overcome in the underwater scenes. From very tight crawl spaces that'll leave you kind of claustrophobic, to creatures and animals that you're going to have to deal with that could kill you in the water, because they could deal a ton of damage if you're not careful. The combat has also been improved upon, so Laura's basically as deadly as she's ever been before. And not just with her bow this time. Yeah, your bow's still there. You can still be deadly with the bow. But her pickaxes are coming more into play. A lot of the stealthy attacks. It's like the stealthy attacks is the name of the game here. The longer you can hide in the shadows and in the jungle foliage, the better off you will be. Just ensure to move slow. So this leads to a solid conclusion to the rebooted franchise and shows off the incredible talent of Crystal Dynamics. They execute on what they wanted to do, and they created a world. You get that? They created a world that was perfectly built for this franchise. Many thought that the Uncharted route was probably the way to go, but they seem to only take little elements from that franchise in creating their own gritty world made up of unique series, consequences, and puzzles, and they created a unique trilogy in and of itself. And this is actually the reboot that Tomb Raider needed. We so desperately needed the Tomb Raider reboot for the longest time, and they finally delivered us one. And with the new era of Lara Croft and the more dark and gritty worlds, there is still a lot left to come. So with that being said, we gave Shadow of the Tomb Raider an 8 out of 10. We felt it was a great game. It had some problems. There was some minor clipping things that were going wrong. Some of the controls didn't seem to work. Camera angle can be a bit wonky at times, but nothing game breaking. The game is beautiful. The voice acting is perfect. It's got a great storyline. Can be a bit on the shorter side, but not too short. And then it's kind of like once you're done with the main story, there's not much left to do after that. So for those very reasons, we gave the Shadow of the Tomb Raider an 8 out of 10. We thought it was a really, really great game. It's a great game to kind of kick off the fall lineup, and we were very, very pleased to play it. We were very, very pleased with the franchise, to be honest with you, in the state it's in now. So thank you guys so much for listening. I am KODX Factor. This is Under Review, and until our next one, game on.